Hi, my name is Sean Chesser. I'm going to do a presentation on heat. During this presentation, I'm going to talk about how heat, thermal energy, and temperature are related and how they are different. I'm also going to talk about how the temperature is measured and what countries use Fahrenheit versus Celsius. Heat. The thermal energy that flows from one substance of a higher temperature to a substance of a lower temperature, commonly measured in calories or joules. Heat travels from hot to cold until both objects are at the same temperature. And that's the definition out of the book from Hewitt and etc. 2017. How does heat transfer? There are ways that heat can transfer from one object to another. 3 ways: conduction, convection, and radiation. Conduction happens when 2 objects are put together and are at a different temperature, kind of like your pot on the stove. A simple way to take a look at this is if you put your hands on warm glass of a dishwasher, then your hand feels warmer instantly because of conduction. Now, all things conduct heat the same way. Wood, for instance, is an insulator and is a bad conductor, while metals are very good. Metals feel colder because it transfers your heat away from your hand much quicker. That is why on most pans, the handle is made out of plastic or wood, so that way you don't get burned when you take it off the stove. Convection happens only in liquid and gases. This takes place by molecular motion in fluids. This happens because when the molecules are heated, they move away from each other. A good example of this is a hot air balloon. The air that is heated by the balloon makes the air less dense, and the molecules actually expand. Once the air is less dense, then it rises, which in turn rises the balloon. Radiation. Radiation is basically from our sun. That's the biggest example that we have, and that's how we survive on Earth. Radiation is heating up an object by energy waves. This happens by electromagnetic waves traveling from one object to another. The reason black gets hot is because it absorbs all the colors in the waves. Another good example of radiation, when I was a kid, I grew up in northern New York, and I used to go by the wood stove, and the heat would radiate and warm me up. Temperature. The definition by the book by Hewitt, etc., 2017, is a measurement of the hotness of a substance related to the average transitional kinetic energy per molecule in a substance measured in a degree Celsius, Fahrenheit, or Kelvin. Thermal energy. The total kinetic plus potential of a submicroscopic particles that make up a substance. So basically that is energy that is in a substance and it's going to go from one place to another. An example of thermal energy is the total energy of an object. So if you had a glass full of water that is the same exact temperature of the lake would have more thermal energy, basically because it has a lot more water, which has more molecules. Similarities and difference between heat, temperature, and thermal energy. The similarities are heat and temperature are both measurements. Another one is temperature and thermal energy both depend on kinetic energy of a particle in a substance. And the last is heat is thermal energy going from hot to cold. Differences is heat is not thermal energy. It is thermal energy as transit once the temperatures are equal. It is not heat. Then it won't be heat. So basically when the temperatures are equal, then it's no longer thermal energy. Temperature is a per particle energy, as where thermal energy is the sum of total energy, which is defined by the book as kinetic plus potential. The temperature measurement systems, we're going to go with Celsius first. The number is the point in which water freezes, which is 0, and the number is 100. That is the point where it boils. Fahrenheit, the number is 32 when it freezes, and it boils at 212 degrees. Kelvin, 273.5 degrees is when water freezes, and it boils at 370 degrees. Kelvin is the same scale as Celsius. Scientists like it because it's easier for equations to measure molecules. Temperature does not have an upper limit, like they cannot measure like how hot stars get, but it does have an absolute 0 where molecules have lost all kinetic energy, and scientists have not been able to achieve absolute 0, but have come pretty close, up to a 1/10000000th. Countries that use Fahrenheit versus Celsius, pretty much most of the countries in the world use Celsius. The only countries that use Fahrenheit is the United States and the Cayman Islands and other areas of the United States as habited. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.